Hello.
Well, hello. We timed it together.
We did.
How are you, my dear sister?
I'm really good. How are you?
Really good. It's great to connect with you and to have a voice again.
Yes. Good to have you up and running, so to speak.
But what I did find interesting was, even though I didn't have my voice, that the guests that come through, the guides that came through, would still, especially the keepers, they'd have a pause length, and there's a pause to think and a pause waiting for my question to come in. And they kept doing the long pause for the question. I would think it, and then they would go in and answer it. So that was
it worked out perfectly.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
So that was with the last session. So it'd be interesting to see how we go with today's session.
Yeah.
Of course, I don't know what to expect.
No, well, what's dropped in the last few days is this container of this session we're going to call sovereignty.
Yep.
And a lot of that comes through from our audience questions.
Sure.
So the energy of where that's going. So I'll bring those up with the keepers of the keys in a moment.
Yes.
We have two new guides coming through, two new guests.
Yes.
Pallas Athena and Archangel Haniel. Now, I don't know much about either.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's going to be a great thing for them to introduce themselves and their purpose for coming through with us today. But have you got any insights into either or both that you'd like to share before we start?
Firstly, I'll talk about Pallas Athena. Now, people may know her as the goddess Athena, the Greek goddess Athena being the daughter of Zeus, and her mother was the goddess Metis, the goddess of wisdom. And it was said that she sprang fully grown from Zeus's head. Now, that's the mythology of it, right? But she is known as the divine protectress of the city of Athens in Greece. And so the Parthenon on the Acropolis in Athens was a temple dedicated to her. So that's kind of going back into the history and a bit of the mythology around Athena. But if you understand her, she, in terms of her work with me and how I'm aligned with her, is she's a member of the Council of Light. So she's, if you want to think of her as a light being who supports the planet, and when I channel the Council of Light, she's one of those beings who comes through for me and with me as I channel the Council of Light. She has both a warrior energy. I sense her very like a female archetype, like similar to Archangel Michael, so a divine warrior in that sense. But she's also the goddess of wisdom and knowledge. So it is said that she doesn't need to fight. She may just stand in her power and through her clear vision, see the strategy through which action needs to be taken. So it goes beyond, it's beyond just like, because she's also known as the goddess of war. And this is where it ties in when you understand. It's like that can seem like very conflicting, compared to wisdom. How does that align with that? Now, the Egyptian equivalent of Athena is Sekhmet. And if you think of her as, it's just, so now you may be more familiar with her energy.
That's more my world now,
So you may be more familiar with her energy in that sense. And so she's a powerful protectress of any who call upon her and who are aligned with her energy. So, and I'm getting some goosebumps as I speak about that. So she's a very powerful being. She is part of the global Council of Light. So she is here that protecting the earth, so that we are only bringing through light beings of divine love and divine light, to support the planet's movement into the consciousness of love and into the new earth energies. So for me, she has a beautiful energy, but a very strong and powerful energy. And like I said, she feels like the female almost counterpart to Archangel Michael. She just has that similar energy. It's can be fiery, but contained and powerful, if that makes sense.
I love the way you were saying that, because it's sort of like the way I think we're all aiming to, well, I know I'm trying to move towards living my life where I stand in my power rather than being reactive, be more creative.
Yes.
And wait for that strategy or that pathway to unfold and look at the big picture. And so it sounds like she's just a really great example to sort of follow.
Yes. So if for people who are not familiar with her and who it's unfamiliar with the concepts of working with the the goddesses or whatever, if you just think of her as a light being or an ascended master, except that she's not an ascended master in that she wasn't physical on the earth, and that's the real difference between the other ascended masters that we know. But she is a light being here to support the earth, and that's the way we can connect with her. And if you're not in resonance with her, that's completely okay as well. So just see, in terms of the messages that come through, what resonates for you, and leave the rest. So you don't have to connect with her energy, but you may be just open to what information comes through, and then see what is in resonance with you and what is not.
Yeah, lovely.
Yeah.
Okay, Archangel Haniel.
So Archangel Haniel, I haven't done too much direct work with her, but my knowledge of her began when I was studying with Doreen Virtue. I mean, we're going back like 17, 18 years now. And from what Doreen was teaching, she was a very, very feminine angel, connected with the moon. And you were saying earlier that you were looking up and there was all this conflicting information about her.
Yeah, I was getting God, joy of God, and
what's interesting is that when I have connected into her energy is not soft and ephemeral, like I kind of got the sense from Doreen Virtue with the moon. It is far more powerful. And I've used her to run energy and to protect a space. And she has been really, like, I was kind of blown away by the power of the energy that came through with her. Now, and we've spoken about this previously when I channeled Archangel Michael, how I have been I've discovered that I'm more in alignment with Stuart Pearce's teachings of the archangels in his Angels of Atlantis book. And he describes her as a sacred warrior, and which was more in alignment with my experience of her as being this really powerful angel. And he describes her as the glory of God. So what's going to be interesting, I think, is to see what comes through, because I think, I haven't asked her, I haven't sat down and said, what do you want me to present? Because that's not the purpose of how we're doing these sessions. It's just allowing them to flow through and see what she says and wishes to share about herself. And I think, again, not making any teaching right or wrong. It's just, how are you in resonance with what energy, and how can you connect with that? And whether it's with Archangel Haniel expressing as a sacred warrior or not, then you get to see how that aligns for you. So again, it'd be interesting to see how she comes through, how she expresses. I haven't channeled her before, so that it'll be my first time.
Okay, so it might be a little bit slow at first, but it's interesting both are coming through as with that warrior energy.
That's what I found interesting.
And feminine energy, even though that they're probably both feminine, masculine, but it's quite often that they're both recognised with that feminine, that feminine power. Energy.
Yes. Yeah. So it'll be interesting. Of course, we'll have the keepers up first.
Of course. I think it's probably timed for them to come through, and
I'll have a
we
sip
can
of water.
talk to them about we've got 2 audience questions to discuss with them. and of course, our container sovereignty, and see what they think about that.
Okay, I'll bring them through. Welcome, dear ones.
And welcome to you, the Keepers of the Keys. It's so lovely to have you back with us again, even though you're with us all the time, but in this format.
We are pleased to be here and pleased to be sharing in this format, certainly.
Great. Well, as you've probably just heard, we've got the name of sovereignty for this week's session. And that kind of came in from a few different reasons, but it just dropped in and went, that's perfect.
Yes.
So we do have 2 audience questions, which I thought we'll share with you and then just see how it flows through there. But would you like to start off with having a chat with everyone that's listening, or would you like me to go into the questions?
No, let us first tap into the energy of sovereignty and the overall theme. We're tapping into the overall theme, energetic theme for today's session, and who will connect with this material and what is in everyone's best and highest good to receive and open up into.
Beautiful.
Yes. Now, sovereignty is an interesting concept. It's a useful concept on a human level, but it is also, in a way, paradoxical when you understand that the consciousness of love is synonymous with unity consciousness. Now, how can sovereignty fit in with unity? And that's the interesting question. It certainly is interesting when you understand this, that being in human bodies is something that makes you differentiated from the other because you are in distinct, different human bodies. But when you understand energetically that you're all connected, then how can you be sovereign in your energies? And this will tie in perfectly with what will come through with Athena and with Archangel Haniel.
Beautiful.
Now, what we wish to say, we want to be really, really clear about this. It's not that we have heard the word bandied around in many different ways. But we are going to talk into the highest vibrational sense of the word and not necessarily in the way you've heard the word. So when you understand that you have your energy and your energy flows and is connected to the all, this is part of that unity consciousness. When you know that you are not truly separated from anyone and that anyone who suffers is an essence, an aspect of you, because they are an aspect of the divine just as you are. That is unity consciousness. So how can you see anyone suffering without wishing them well, supporting them in whatever way you can, and wishing to uplift them again in whatever way you can? So that may be from a distance, energetically, with a prayer for them, with blessings for them. It can be with actual physical assistance. However you are called to support that person in the way that you interface with them, that is the calling, in knowing that that could be you, treating another as you wish to be treated yourself. This is very much in alignment with the teachings of Yeshua.
Yeah.
Now, when you understand sovereignty, you have to understand that words interplay with cultural energies. And within Western cultures, there is an overemphasis on individuality. And that the individual is more important than the communal or the broader community. And that therefore, it is all about the I, the singular I person, and not about the one. So if you understand, and we know that Mary Magdalene has also said previously that there is not enough of a sense of community responsibility.
Yeah, yeah.
When it comes to your cultures, you can understand where there has been a tendency to move into too much individuality, too much individuation. And some would call sovereignty, though we would not call that sovereignty. We would call that separation. And this is why we want to differentiate between those two terms. That's separation, that's not sovereignty.
Yeah, yeah, totally, yeah.
Now, you can be a sovereign being so that you don't have energetic interference from another. You can still be connected through love without having energetic interference from another, because you no longer accept the energies or vibrations of fear and distortion and illusion that others may carry. And how do you do this, dear ones? With interpersonal as well as energetic boundaries. So interpersonal is where you have a boundary with another, and we know that in the collective, the term boundary has come up in consciousness in the last few years, and the importance of boundaries. And yes, they are important. Yet again, some may misuse the term, and instead of boundaries, they put up walls.
Yeah, yeah.
So there has to be a communication of what is your personal boundary and how may you interface with another so that your energy is kept sovereign while still connecting with love with another. Rather than an excuse, a justification is the better word for putting up walls from the other. So when you have those interpersonal boundaries, then you may work on your energetic boundaries. Now, these are more subtle, but still also important. And for those of you who are more sensitive to energy, who may identify as empaths, who are intuitives, this is where this becomes particularly important also. For where you sense other people's energies, and it becomes an energetic mix between your energy and someone else's energy, particularly when you have interactions with them, then you want to be making sure that that energy exchange is within the consciousness of love, because anything less than that can leave you with an energetic imprint of fear, of anger, of distrust, of betrayal, of anything that is not love. And so there may need to be adjustments in how you put into place these energetic boundaries for yourself. And this is where your energy practices are important. Clearing your energy, protecting your energy, putting into place your personal boundaries around how you interface with others is important. It is not that it should stop you from interfacing with others as a general rule. It is understanding that you wish and desire for connection. So what are the conditions in which you wish that connection to take place?
And also thinking about awareness too, like when we may have not put up a boundary that day without, just haven't thought about it.
Yes.
You've interacted with someone and then I start feeling different, and then
yes.
I've got to become aware, like, oh, hang on, that's not mine.
Yes.
I've picked that up.
Yes.
Then you can go and clear it and put your boundaries up.
Yes. And that takes practice. And we know for Vicky, it was a revolutionary discovery when she realized, hang on, not all of this is mine.
Yeah.
And it has taken years to, let's not say perfect it, but fine tune it to a point
Mm.
where she is much, much better in understanding what is hers and what is others.
Mm.
And so she has particular practices that she does so that she needs to prepare her energy, particularly when doing energy work with others.
So I know it actually happened with me in my work yesterday. I'm just
Yes.
working a few days for a business, and I'd been given this massive workload that's like 2 weeks worth of work, and with about, I don't know, 12 hours to get it done of working
Yes.
time. And I started getting that anxious feeling, and then I went, oh, this isn't mine.
Yes.
I can only do what I can do while I'm here in this space, and I just give it back with love, and I'll work through it. And I did, and I actually got through nearly half of it. I was quite shocked. Once I let go of that anxiety and went, right, this is not mine to hold. I'll just do my best, keep moving forward. And so remembering to put those, well, I think for me that was a big awareness. Like I picked it within a minute of it starting in my stomach, and I went, oh, hang on, what's going on here?
Yes.
Mm.
And you may even understand it as not just being picking it up from the people around you. You can understand what is ancestral also.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Many of you, all of you, carry ancestral energies. In other words, you have inherited patterns and beliefs and perspectives of the world from your ancestors through your genetic line. And if you can understand this, not seeing this from a victim perspective and understanding that this is something that is a detrimental one, you have chosen those genetics.
Yeah, we sure have,
for your own soul growth lessons and evolution. So they provide you the perfect breeding ground, so to speak, for all these lessons and evolution to unfold for you. So when you can understand that something may come up and say, well, if it's not the people around you, is it ancestral? And that then may be an opportunity for you to clear that from within your ancestral line and clear it for yourselves, and therefore clear it for your children and their children and so forth.
And I also see it from other people. I see them saying something, and then I ask them a few questions, like people, clients, whoever. Ask them a few questions, because straight away I pick up that it's ancestral, what's coming out from them. And then I go like, a few questions, then we narrow it down and like, yeah, okay. Have you ever considered this is coming down from DNA or ancestral lines?
Yes.
Oh, I never thought of that. And then we can dig in that area and uncover stuff for releasing. Yeah.
Yes. And then the other question to ask, if it's not ancestral, or even if it is it collective? Is it something that you've picked up from within the collective? That you are feeling?
Yeah.
So this is where your energetic sovereignty is important, so that you can clear from within you anything that is not of love.
Yeah.
Remember, the unity consciousness is about connecting through love. So anything that is not of love does not support unity consciousness. It supports separation.
Yeah.
So we know that we have previously spoken about the situation in the United States of America with what happened, Roe versus Wade, and abortion rights.
Yes.
Now, currently, what is occurring is an uprising in Iran, and the women of Iran, who are saying no to bodily control.
Yeah.
Bodily control was the issue and is still the issue in the United States, but expressed differently.
Yes.
One was about the right of abortion. The other is the right to wear what you please. And to be free of assault and murder. Basic, fundamental human rights.
Yeah.
Now, this uprising has great potentials to overthrow the government, or at least change it forever
That's giving me goosebumps. Yeah.
Leading the path. Vicky too. Leading the path into greater freedom and sovereignty for all citizens of Iran, men, women, and children. So there is a very particular reason why sovereignty is coming up and why your particular divine guests are coming through.
Yeah, yeah. It's all connected. We're all connected.
We're all connected. We are connected with you just as you are connected with us and connected to every brother and sister that you have upon this planet. What is happening to them there is not separate from you.
No.
And it is not that you must take on their suffering, but you must uplift them with your prayers, your wishes, your envisioning of their grand future that awaits them. Even as you open their hearts to all that they are expressing through the power of their voice. As you recall, the voice is connected to your power.
And that sort of circles back to that sovereignty too, like every single one of us sitting here in our lounge rooms on the other side of the world can still make a difference by sending our love to the different things going on with that in our global community.
They have had their internet shut down by their government. They are asking others overseas to be their voice for them. So we have taken that and agree with them. We will be their voice just as you can be theirs. And this is the case for anyone suffering anywhere, whether it is the right to be able to freely choose to wear the hijab where they are not able to, or to freely not wear it where they are forced to. It is all about a matter of choice and sovereignty in that choice. And can we say that the men of Iran are standing with their women?
Yes.
In unprecedented numbers that you have seen anywhere else. They are supporting their wives and daughters and sisters and are protesting with them. But let us be clear, the women have become the leaders in this uprising.
It's very powerful stuff.
It is. It is. And so when you understand, when you connect into that divine mother energy, what does a mother do when she protects her children? Just look at any example within nature. What would the lioness do to protect her cubs? There's a raw power in that. And that's the energy you're connecting into today.
Wow, okay.
Yes. So we're ready for your questions, and more may unfold as we have laid this basis of sovereignty.
Yep. Well, it's interesting that one question is a global question and the other one is more personal. So I think we'll start with the global one because talking of sovereignty, it's around beautiful Queen Elizabeth that has just passed. So the question was, what is the Queen of England up to now, but what did she represent? And I think for me, I'd like to add into that, how did her passing change our collective energy?
Okay. So again, let us lay a basis for this, because what she represents or represented is different according to how you experienced her and perceived her. For some, she's a villain. For others, a motherly figure, a grandmotherly figure. Now, when you ask what is she up to, just like any soul that has transitioned into the other side of the veil, she has gone through her life review and going through the processes to connect into more deeply through that review into lessons, either accomplished or not accomplished in that lifetime, what she has fulfilled according to her soul purpose, and what she has not fulfilled and what will need to be fulfilled in subsequent lifetimes. In other words, there will be a review around what some would call karma, but we would wish to say, think of it as an energy balance. Now, in terms of what she represented, and interesting that we're talking about sovereignty, that she's often referred to or was referred to as a sovereign queen. Now, when you understand the nature of colonialism, one country seeks to deny the sovereignty of another. That is the history of the United Kingdom. And that is what the monarchy represents, that history of colonialism. So to millions of people around the world, her death represented all the suffering that occurred under colonialism through her lifetime. All the murder, the rape, the pillage of sovereign nations, which there has never been a redress or balance or returning of in her lifetime, which she had the power to do. Now, some would then suggest that she was a figurehead of that colonialism, and let us call the complex, almost not quite an industrial complex, but the political complex around it. Some call it the firm, but we speak more of than just Buckingham Palace. We speak more of the government as well. Now, you understand, both you and Vicky, that in a country such as Australia, where you're both from, you are living within the Commonwealth, and Australia is a colony of the United Kingdom. Now, what is the legacy of colonialism in Australia is that the Aboriginal peoples have been displaced, have experienced genocide, their children stolen from them, and are now living with a collective intergenerational trauma, which not only have they not healed yet from, are still experiencing systemic oppression. So, in speaking to your question, now the shift has come from Queen Elizabeth to King Charles. Why is there now more of an uprising against the idea of a monarchy? People saw her as the kindly grandmother. The sense of a monarchy was more palatable to most others when it was the kindly grandmother, or the perception of the kindly grandmother, compared to the philandering Charles, who caused suffering to the most beloved Princess Diana. Very different energy. Now, in terms, going back to the question, what does she represent? Many saw her as representing a female leader in the world, and this was a positive thing. because she had power. Yes and no. She did not earn that power. She inherited that power. And now her son has inherited that power from her. Now, this is, of course, chosen as souls before they came into their lifetimes.
Yeah.
Right. Now, what she could have done in her lifetime and did not do is loosen the power of the monarchy to pave the way for a ultimate ending of the monarchy.
Yeah.
Across, not only across the Commonwealth, but in the United Kingdom itself. Not everyone's ready for that. People are very defensive of that idea. Some see that the power of the monarchy reflected in their personal power because they feel they belong to that power. So particularly those who live in England or who feel that they have connections into that power, even in amongst the colonies. Now, Vicky has had other experiences within the Commonwealth or the colonialization of that through her parents' birthplace of Cyprus. And this is her ancestral heritage is from the island of Cyprus, being only a second generation migrant to Australia. Cyprus's sovereignty was not only taken by the United Kingdom, but it had a history of that being so.
Yeah.
So they took over from the Ottomans, who had it, the island, for hundreds of years, and there were others that had it for years before that. And you can trace it all the way back to ancient history. And there'd be kingdoms and empires who had control of the island of Cyprus. To this day, even though Cyprus is now an independent country, it is still part of the Commonwealth, there are British bases on Cyprus that are considered British land.
Okay.
So you can see this is just two examples here in Australia and Cyprus that you're both personally connected to. There are so many examples across the world that we haven't even touched. South Africa is another one. You can go through all different countries, India, Hong Kong, and look at that. And let us say, because this is where things get interesting or complex, some, even in those colonized nations, will have welcomed British rule because there was a perception that was better than what they had previously.
Yeah.
So we'll give an example is Vicky's grandmother, born in Cyprus, lived through the World War II in Cyprus, and was grateful for British rule because it meant that they did not starve the way the people of Greece did during World War II. So would you see it as gratitude for an oppressor? She wouldn't see that. She would see her as a savior. See how her representation is very different.
Yes.
And if Vicky's grandmother was still alive, she would be grieving the Queen, the Queen and the Queen's passing.
Yeah.
So how anyone has interfaced with British rule and colonialization will influence how they perceive it, perceive her, perceive the monarchy and what she represents. Now, while there was her feminine presence, and let us say that as a soul, she did the best from her level of consciousness. But her level of consciousness is not where you need to be on a collective level. It's not within the consciousness of love to have rule over another.
Mm.
It is patronizing, patriarchal, oppressive. It takes away from people's sovereignty and self-determination.
Mm. And a continuation of a similar cycle that's been going on for eons.
Yes.
Mm.
And so we would see, the irony is that while she was one of the most beloved monarchs, is that she, by this very fact, she enabled the monarchy to survive longer.
I think that's going to be slowing down fast.
Yes. And going to your question, this is where this uprising in conversation around why is Australia, for example, still a monarchy?
Yes, why? Yeah.
There are far fewer people wanting to accept King Charles as their king as there were who accepted Queen Elizabeth because they grew up with Queen Elizabeth being the queen. And so this change, notice the transfer of power is not in elected people in power, it's by virtue of birth.
Yeah, that system's just archaic. Mm.
So he has not earned the right, he was born into the right.
Mm.
Ultimately, we see this dying out, and this is ultimately the purpose that this will die out. Princess Diana came in to disrupt that idea of what is royalty.
Yeah.
And the monarchy. And yet, while she changed things forevermore, her candle did burn too bright.
Yes.
And Vicky's got goosebumps. While she wasn't able to continue that work, watch Prince Harry.
Yes.
He's going to continue that work.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And I've never really been connected to the whole king queen thing and all of that, but I can tell you the day that we got the news that Lady Di had passed over,
yes,
I think I was so teary and upset for days, and I thought, I don't even follow the royals, I'm not connected, but it was like she was the people's princess.
She really was.
And
yes.
what she did represent to especially to us, at me as a young lady,
yes,
was how to be graceful and go after and do the things that you feel are going to bring joy to others and to yourself, sort of thing. So
yes,
yeah, it was quite emotional, and I think she also opened up a massive portal for a lot of people to let go of grief that we'd been holding on to for whatever that was connecting into for us in our ancestry as well.
That was a powerful moment. And there is so much that we could say about her, and we won't share it now and going off on a different topic, given what we're sharing here. But she laid the basis for being able to, she's the one that brought through the divine feminine energy.
Yes.
It wasn't Queen Elizabeth. Queen Elizabeth ultimately responded to Princess Diana's popularity and saw that she needed to make adjustments in the monarchy. And if she did not make those adjustments, the monarchy would have failed.
And even the name Diana, that's all connects back. Like, I could start going on about that, but let's not.
Yes. So it was her energy that really brought the best forward within that. Let's not even call it the monarchy, but within that family.
Yeah.
And if you consider as the family being a spotlight for many issues, one of them was the role of men and women. the role of a mother with her children.
Yes.
She brought the human aspect into royal life. And because she was up against an institution, suffered because of it, but could not be anything but herself. And ultimately, that's why everyone loved her. Now, let us say that what Queen Elizabeth did in response to Diana did not go deep enough. It was to appease appearances on the surface. When you can understand that she, of her own money, gave to Prince Andrew to pay out a victim of child sex abuse, you can understand that she did not really embody, understand, or even have empathy for most people. And yes, she gave inspired words at times of difficulty. And she had her positive moments, not to say everything was negative. However, more harm was done in her name than good. And this is something that she will have to look at with her guides and higher self and the Council of Light to review how can she make up this energy balance. So when people are envious of worldly power, be careful what you wish for. Do you really wish to have that kind of karma or have to work out that energy balance when what you decide and what you do or do not do has such a big effect on millions of people? That is big energy. So while from seeing her as a soul who is evolving just as any other human being on this planet, and we are not casting judgment upon her, but we are sharing this so you may understand what any human being may go through as they transition, and to understand the ripple effect that you may have on anybody else. You may not be a queen or a leader, but you still have a sphere of influence upon others. And so you do send out ripples out into this world. So we would say to you, when you understand the concept of sovereignty, would you wish to infringe upon the sovereignty of another for your own personal gain or the gain of an institution that you represent? And we would be careful with that answer.
Yeah, very careful.
So the shift in the collective consciousness is now a greater questioning.
Yes, that's what I'm feeling.
A greater
it's like
questioning.
A big question mark hanging in the air. Will this continue? Is it dying out?
Yes, it is. She did her best to hold on to that power. And in a way, she was skillful at it. It was very careful image portrayal.
I can't imagine a more horrible way to live your life too. Like constantly, you're a show. You're on show.
Why do you think Prince Harry has rebelled?
Yes,
against all of that. And he openly speaks of the anxiety and the trauma that has caused him. So they are carefully controlled. Now, on some level, you may even see them as being controlled by others. They themselves are not free.
Yes.
Yet they are also afforded the greatest privileges.
Mm.
When you see them surrounded by their chancellors and the people, the advisors all around them, even Queen Elizabeth, there were very few women.
Mm.
It was upholding an old institution that has literally had blood on its hands.
Mm.
And stolen, appropriated riches, including diamonds upon her crown, from other countries.
Yeah, okay.
So when you understand the bigger picture, it can be sometimes difficult to digest, especially if you saw her as your grandmother figure.
Mm.
Now, as a woman, as a grandmother and a great-grandmother, you may wish her well upon this next part of her soul adventure as she evolves and continues to evolve. As a queen, you may see her as perpetuating an institution that cannot survive the age of Aquarius.
Mm.
For it is not founded in the consciousness of love and does not uphold it, but does much to take away from it.
Mm.
So there will be changes. Things are shifting as we speak. And what we will say, if this does not resonate for you, if you do not agree with our words, that is okay.
Mm.
If you have grieved and mourned for the Queen, that is okay. They are valid human feelings that you have had for a person who has transitioned to the other side.
Mm.
And you may grieve and mourn what she represented to you.
And
but
I'd
in
like
our,
to say, oh,
yes,
sorry.
I would say, but in our answering the broader question, we have presented the bigger picture of what she represented. And that is why our sharing here is not just of the grandmotherly figure.
Mm. Mm. I was just going to say, and it's okay if you haven't grieved or haven't felt connected to them as well.
Yes.
It's like it's all our journeys.
Yes.
What's under our umbrella and how we've interacted with these different experiences that are unfolding.
Yes.
In this moment.
Let us say we'll speak for Vicky. Her personally, there was no grief.
No.
There was actually no charge whatsoever.
Mm.
She saw her as a soul transitioning, just like any other soul transitioning, and yet observed the many different feelings coming from others and acknowledged, even just to herself quietly, the pain some expressed at what she represented, and to others, the sadness of what she represented to them. And so we present here a balanced view. If you mourned her as a grandmotherly figure and you felt like you had a relationship with her, and particularly those in the United Kingdom, then that is okay. They are your valid emotional feelings. If you have felt anything negative towards her, again, these are your valid human feelings, and acknowledge them. And so do not use our words to invalidate your own feelings about her, but we answer the broader question of what she represented. And so it really comes to your point of view.
And it comes back to, like, we're all in this together, and we call you guides quite often, and that's guides. It's not, you're not called do's, do as we say, you're guides. So
yes. It's a good understanding. It is guidance, it's not a prescription.
Yes, yeah, I even like that better.
Good.
Okay, so are we happy to move on to
yes,
the
we
other
are.
question? Now, this one's a long one.
Yes.
So I get the energy of it. So
yes.
I'll say the whole question because there's multiple questions within it, but it is targeted towards something that I think would be very helpful for everybody.
Yes.
So word for word. I have many beautiful souls that I'd love to create with, but it feels as if they are not ready. Not enough time, no money, too busy, no inspiration, and so on. I feel like a horse trying to pull them along, and it's so hard. Is this me? Am I creating this? Is this something I have to resolve inside myself? Is this not the time? Do I have to completely change the environment and meet brand new people? I feel the greatest pull to co-create, but I don't seem to be able to. What is this all about?
This is a wonderful question because it will help many people.
I think
not just the beautiful soul who asked this question.
Yeah.
Now, when you understand, when we're talking about co-creating, so you're wishing to collaborate with others, for everything is a grand co-creation. Here you are all creating on this one beautiful planet at the same time, but we understand it as a more intimate co-creation. Yes. Yeah. So yes, it is a matter of divine timing, but let us go deeper into that, because saying that does not fully express what is going on underneath. Now, you are collectively moving more into a time where you're moving into the consciousness of love and into those new earth energies. Not everyone is moving into those energies. And even if people are still on a spiritual path, they may still not be moving into those energies. Not everyone can move at the same pace. For some, their growth becomes stagnant. For some, their evolution is, let us not say pause, goes on a detour, because they have a soul lesson to work out before they can evolve more. So when you are co-creating with other people, even if you have vibed, in inverted commas, with them and resonated with them in a most beautiful and wonderful way for a time, this does not mean you will do so forevermore. Because you are each and every one of you evolving, yet each and every one of you evolving at a different pace.
And in different directions. And
yes, and we were going to say that. As some of you evolve in different directions. And so paths may diverge, and it may be time to review some of those relationships and ask, is this serving me to be invested in a co-creation with them? Doesn't mean you do not care about them. You may still love them. There's no judgment of them. It is just about asking the question, does a co-creation with them serve me? Is it in alignment? And if it is not happening, it is not in alignment. And the work is to figure out what is not in alignment. What is it about you that is not in alignment? And what is about the others that is not in alignment? Now, to ask, what is it within me, is a very good question. We would say is, You do, and we're speaking now personally to that soul, that beautiful soul who asked that question.
Okay.
You do have a burning desire and passion to co-create with others. What we would guide you to is be more discerning about who you put your energy into.
Mm-hmm.
Not everyone is ready for your energy. And let us say it's not even then about being at the same level, as you may say. It is about perhaps you're on a different path. You're here to express in a different way. And you still may vibe with each other and resonate with each other and love and adore each other, but your paths are not here to merge in a way that is to consciously co-create, because your forms of expressions of what you each are doing is different. And that is not a bad thing, dear one.
Mm.
Acknowledge that it is so. And say, in that case, it is not about you. It is about the other, and you may bless the other on their sovereign path, as they are here to express in their way that cannot be done so in co-creation with you. Yeah. And there may be times where you come together and appreciate each other and love each other, and then times that you separate and go on your path as you each do your own thing. And there is nothing wrong with that. And in fact, we still see cross-fertilization occurring when each is allowed to do their own thing without trying to fit each other into a mold that does not work for both. Mm-hmm. So to the beautiful soul who asked the question, but to all of you also, when you are having an intention to co-create with others, be clear in your intentions. Be clear that is in the best and highest good of all of you. And that you draw unto you those who are compatible with you and is in your best and highest good and their best and highest good to consciously co-create. So be clearer in your intentions and then be discerning about who crosses your path. It may be for a brief time only.
Oh.
And even in that brief time, you may still set each other on the right path, even if those paths diverge.
Yeah. That's resonating deeply with me too. Yeah.
And there is nothing wrong with paths diverging. You are each expressing a different note within the harmony of the divine. Not only is there nothing wrong in expressing a different note, there's everything right about it. So to the beautiful soul, what we would say is, do not wrong what you are seeing. See what is right about it. And see those, what you would call blocks, as showing you this is not the path for you. Yet do not give up on your idea, your passion for wishing to consciously co-create with others. So keep true to the inner essence of what you wish to do, which is to consciously co-create. Surrender the details. That includes who you will co-create with. And ask Spirit and the divine to bring you the people who are looking for you to co-create with also.
I love that. And I think that, like, the fact that this person that's asked the question is sort of like wanting to co-create, and I think that's like built into us, like we're growth orientated beings. Like from the minute we're conceived physically in the womb, we're like cells multiplying and constantly growing, and we go through all those different bodies to get to the body we're in now, and then it'll change again. And it's just that it is quite a strong, powerful thing once you step into that co-creation energy and that growth energy to want to go forward. And I could see frustration then because you're not moving forward. So
Yes.
I love how you gave us other ways to look at what's going on within the container of whatever is happening for ourselves, and
Yes.
how we can look at it differently and step outside the box and view it differently.
Yeah, because even with other souls who you are perfectly in resonance with, it still may not be the right time to collaborate and co-create with them. So again, that may just be about perfect timing for each of you as you work through whatever you need to work through to get to that. So there is no wrongness in it, only rightness.
Yeah. Well, that's wonderful. Thank you. Okay, is there anything else you'd like to add to this?
No, what we will do is we'll step back so that your next guests will come through. Pallas Athena will come in next, and then Archangel Haniel.
I always seem to write them in the order that they're coming. So yes, okay. Pallas was next on my list.
We'll see you at the end, and we will share our concluding comments then.
Lovely.
Lovely too.
Thank you.
That was interesting. Okay, I'm going to call in Pallas Athena.
Welcome.
And welcome to you.
Okay. I'm just dumbfounded. I'm just totally lost for words then.
It's quite okay. Let's allow Vicky to find her voice.
Yes.
While she has worked with my energy and is familiar with it, is the first time she's channeling in this way.
I understand there's a bit of calibration needs to happen with the non-physical and physical realms coming together. Yeah.
Yes. But I am pleased to be here and grateful for the opportunity.
Well, we're grateful to have you here. I always look at myself as a bit of a warrior type energy as well. So it's really, really nice to have that, and for people to understand that warrior doesn't always mean war.
No.
No.
Let me say, allow Vicky to warm up in this way through a sharing of her story, which she allows. There was a period of time in her life where she was battling old systems, old relationships, and so that she could create a new life. And she had to battle the old so she could create the new. Now, the battle was not in what you would think of as war, but yes, she had legal goings on. So there were legal matters. There were matters in relation to her children, and matters she's still resolving now as the final pieces in closing out old chapters from her past. But in this, let us say, 4 to 6 year period, she had to call on the warrior energy to be able to survive it and move through it with as much grace as she could muster. So when people talk about taking down the old systems, old energies, the old earth, you will often see this in your own lives, how you will interface with it. And with Vicky, that was through the family court process, custody issues, financial matters, and even through her previous work. Now, that also included divesting from previous ideas and notions of what family and relationships mean. So when you go through a spiritual awakening process, or any spiritual journey or healing journey, often you will see that you must battle through a process that is about releasing the old. And this is where you may really call on that divine warrior energy. And call in your power and your sovereignty to be able to do so. And in many ways, it may even feel like a fight for your life, for it is a fight to be able to be free and create a life based in love. And without that fight, you would be disempowered, disconnected, passive, and remaining in a complete denial of your divine power. You must claim your personal power, and by doing so, claim your divine power. The two go hand in hand. And so you may see me as one of these aligned beings, let's use the term, they may support you to claim this divine power. And whether you see me as a sacred warrior, as a protector, as a wise one, I may assist you in whatever way you are requiring it, if you so desire to connect with me and call upon me.
Beautiful, thank you.
Yes.
So at the beginning, Vicky gave us some information that she that was from her soul and her experience. And I'm just wondering if you wanted to add to that or talk to that in regards to, I think you've pretty well just explained it then, in us standing in our sovereignty and standing in our power,
yes,
from a basis of love.
Firstly, I will speak to the understanding within the mythology. Think of mythology as being parables to instruct and to teach. They are not necessarily reflective of who we are as light beings. It is like you have your stories of the Creator, both as the wrathful God as well as the benevolent God. One is made in the image and likeness of man as being wrathful and vengeful, and one is more its true nature, which is loving, benevolent, wise, and is the one source of light. So here you have very differing accounts. We would not put stock into everything you read, whether on the internet or whether in old texts. Always speak to or connect with your own experiences. To do so, however, it helps to have your own experiences without expectation or coloring from other influences. Now, I'm aware, even as I speak this, here you are having an experience of me through another person.
Mm-hmm.
And so know that this is on one level an experience of me, but it's still not yet a personal experience of me. You may connect with my energy, even as you connect with the words that I'm saying and the energy transmission that is coming through. But until you have your personal experience of me, then you will not really know me.
Mm.
So if you can understand that there were many of us who came across the cosmos to support the planet Earth and humanity coming through the cycles of life. And as we came to support and oversee the human journey on this beautiful blue planet of yours, many cultures speak of us as gods and goddesses, and you will see equivalencies across many cultures, many different names. Whether Norse gods and goddesses, whether Roman, whether Greek, whether Egyptian, whether Indian, whatever culture you may come across, there may be equivalencies of who we are.
Yeah. Mm.
So you may connect all the way back into the temples of Atlantis and see how we oversaw the teachings there. And how when Atlantis fell, each of us went to different places on the planet to oversee sharing of or preserving of the wisdom, that portion of wisdom that they took to that part of the planet.
Mm.
And so you may see my temple still standing, though certainly not preserved, in Athens. And yet I had temples not just there, but around the world. For some have known me as Sekhmet, others as Athena, and others by different names again. And when you understand that I still hold an office, so to speak, in being a guardian for the earth, for humanity, here as a member of the Council of Light, you may understand the broader role I may have.
Mm.
So in returning to your question about sovereignty, the divine warrior is an expression of that sovereignty.
Yeah.
It is a reclamation of that sovereignty.
Mm.
Defines it, it claims it, he holds it, and is unwavering in it. And so preserving the sovereignty of the planet Earth so that all human beings can travel through their lifetimes in sovereignty, in safety, and in light, there had to be beings who oversaw your journey.
Mm.
And it has been my privilege to be one of those.
Well, we're very grateful to have your energy here today in particular, but as always, like now I'm connecting Sekhmet and my head's starting to connect all the dots in that area. So thank you for that.
Yes.
Very grateful to have you here. And you were saying you're grateful for the opportunity. So is there one particular thing or something that you would like to share with us in this moment?
I will speak to what is occurring in Iran.
Mm-hmm.
For this was the ancient empire of Persia. Yes.
Mm.
And this was a glorious land. And while there were temples in my name there, in the consciousness that the Persian people at the time, or let us say, people in power at the time, was part of that imperial consciousness. In other words, it was about empire. And you saw the conflict between the Greeks and the Persians. Yet, within the people there, throughout the millennia, regardless of the dictatorship, the emperors, the autocratic rule, people have maintained and retained a power and a fierceness within them that is all about their sovereign power. And that is why they are uprising. So I am happy, honored, and privileged to be their voice too.
Wonderful.
To see women and people rising with their sacred warrior energy, claiming their sovereignty, even willing to die to express that sovereignty. There's nothing more powerful than that.
Mm-hmm.
This is why this can topple governments. Even though they may have their militia, their police with their guns, their tanks, ultimately the people will rise. And if you understand that the new earth cannot hold the energy of autocratic governments where the people do not have their sovereign human rights. And we wish to say, speaking broadly here, for the whole Council of Light, that we are with you. And you may stand with them by opening your hearts to them. Pray for them. Be with them. Hold them in your hearts. For their uprising is your rising. their freedom is your freedom. And the freedom and the reclamation of sovereignty and power to move into the new earth energies. This makes it possible. You are not disconnected from what you may see as a Middle Eastern country over there. That some of you may have even considered as an enemy of your nation. Now you can see that this nation is made up of people, not represented by their government. And these people have spoken, and they desire freedom, and they desire sovereignty. And they desire to be treated with respect, with safety, the freedom to choose what they wear, to be able to walk safely in the streets without harassment.
It's all that base chakra stuff, isn't it? Like that safety, security. It's just the basic fundamentals of existing that they're having to rebel to try and get changed. It's huge. And what you're saying about holding them and anyone else in the world that's experiencing something similar in our hearts. Is there any particular process you'd like to share? Like for me, I can see my heart unfurl as a rose.
Yes.
And then I will send out ripples of that beautiful pink rose quartz energy and just sit in love and picture it waving across the world. So that's how I like to do that, and to be in a joyful thought, not a worry place when you're sending that energy. Is there any sort of particular way that you could suggest for the people that will be attracted to this session to use?
That is a lovely way to express it. And Vicky also often sees it as the blossoming of the rose. Now, I resonate with the color pink and the pink gray. It is all about the love. So you may see that sending that to them. Now, what I wish to say is that if you're in a state where you're going through your own personal battles and you are depleted of this love, you're possibly not capable of doing that, and that is okay. What I would suggest, and what we would suggest in that case, is that you call upon us and do this in your name, and we will do it for you.
Nice. Yep.
And you may then also call upon us to do this for you and allow us to fill your hearts, because you cannot open your hearts and share love when your cup is empty. So fill yourself up first, and then allow yourselves to radiate that love when it is overflowing through you. So when it comes to engaging with the material that you may see about the Iran protests and about Mahsa Amini or Gina Amini, whose murder triggered these Iranian protests, be discerning about your own self-care and what you need and what you can and cannot engage with. But if you have the capacity, then amplify their voices and engage with that content, because as that becomes more viral online, then more media outlets pick that up, and then more is it understood within the international community, and more pressure is put upon the Iranian government to change their ways.
And I think pressure on the whole global community as well to see that change is coming.
Yes.
Change is here.
Yes. Yes, it is.
Mm.
Change is here. And nowhere can you see this more prevalent when you have your rights taken away from you.
Mm. Mm.
Because you will fight for those. When things are okay, when you feel or perceive that you have an access to the power within society, I'll differentiate this and call this human egoic power, then you don't not have much motivation or inspiration to change the status quo.
Yeah.
And so if you are privileged to have access to that power, that structural power within society, then, and you do not have that motivation, you're not going to engage with this. But when you have experienced oppression in any way, when you've had to fight for your own personal power, you know what it's like. And so you'll have the greatest empathy for these people who are uprising. And you may then therefore understand that what they are doing is here to change the collective. For Gaia cannot move into the new earth energies fully if whole nations do not go with her. This is about bringing whole nations up to speed. This is part of the process. This still takes time, and there will certainly be changes through these protests. It would not be a temporary protest that then gets quashed and nothing changes. There will be ripple effects into the future that will support the movement and the uprising of the people of Iran to their freedom and autonomy.
And I'm thinking, I'm just seeing, you were saying ripples forward. I think the ripples ancestry-wise will go back in that healing journey as well. For
yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Balance.
Yes. And then outwardly from Iran to other nations. Thus go the ripple effects. So it is timely for me to be here. In speaking of the divine warrior energies and in speaking of sovereignty, when we are observing right here upon your planet right now, those fighting to do so.
Well, I'm loving that you've come to pay us a visit. So I'm just going to preempt that I'm looking forward to future visits.
Yes,
with
there'll
you.
be future visits.
Yeah, I definitely really feel a strong connection with you. And I actually even feel like I'm sitting up taller in my chair while we're talking. It's like I'm in my sovereignty and my body's physically sitting upright. Yeah.
When you understand the position of your body, it actually helps you claim your power or not. When you are sitting in a state of collapse, this is a state of submission. When you're sitting in a standing or standing in a state of expansion, you're claiming your power because you're taking up space. See, you've got an open chest, head held high. You may even look up the warrior pose, made popular through a TED Talk. The Wonder Woman pose is another name for it. The Superman pose is another name again. But it is a warrior pose, and we do not refer to it as in the yoga pose, the warrior pose with the hands on the hips, chest held high, shoulders back, taking up space. that makes you feel more empowered. Just by doing this for 2-3 minutes before you engage in any process.
And I teach that to clients, like if they've got to go for a job interview. I said, go and do your
perfect
pose in the mirror before you go in for the interview, a couple of minutes before, and get in your, and I always use Wonder Woman because that's like what I grew up with. Get your Wonder Woman or your Superwoman pose.
Yes.
And I've actually taken it one step further, and I get everyone to do a walk. So we take it into a walk, and I call it your supermodel walk, but I might have to call it the Pallas Athena walk now.
You may call it the warrior walk.
The warrior walk, yeah.
Yeah.
The warrior or the warrioress.
Yes, yeah. So know that I will be back. No, it's an introduction to my energies. No, it was timely for me to appear. So I am happy to withdraw my energies so that your next guest may come through. What I will say in parting is to each and every one of you, see whether you need the warrior energy in your life. Claim it if you need it. Even if you don't need it, even if you have moved through those internal and sometimes external battles in your life, know that my energy is powerful, is protective. And so you may call upon my protection. And if you're requiring wisdom in your strategy to move through any difficult situation, I may also assist you.
Beautiful. And that's so appreciated. So thank you so much. And just a timely reminder for anyone watching and for myself, don't forget to ask. We've got to ask.
Yes, exactly. So thank you for the opportunity for me being here. I thank all people around the world for claiming their warrior energy and bringing the earth forward into the new earth. For the new earth is here energetically, but it is up to each and every one of you to anchor it into your being and be expressed through your being, through the consciousness of love.
Beautiful. Thank you. So honoured. I'm so grateful. Thank you so much. From my heart to yours.
And mine to yours, dear ones. And so it is.
Wow. I just feel so attuned to, I'll say her, but to her energy. Yeah.
And it was last week that I got that she'll come through, and that was before I knew about the Iranian protests. I'm not sure that they had even broken out at that time. I don't know. But yeah, that's interesting.
Well, I don't watch the news at all, and I think it was only the other day when someone said all the protests, and I went, "Oh, what are you talking about?" And they filled me in, because I always get a filtered version of anything important like that comes through to me. I always think at the right time, but I don't sit in front of news reports and that sort of thing, because there's so much rubbish mixed in with those couple of important messages that come through.
Vicky's been engaging in content on social media directly from people sharing in Iran before it made the news.
Okay.
And I have to say my heart has really been with them, and I just feel such a strong affinity with these women. So I hadn't planned on, of course, on talking about it, but they both so far, the keepers and Athena, brought it up. So that's very interesting. I've even considered creating another page just to talk about how these uprisings and, you know, I suppose battles for human rights are examples of the new earth being attempting to be birthed. I've played with that thought, but
even just another recording like this,
yeah,
to put up to you.
I didn't even think of it. It was just thinking, you know, this is something that is separate from what I'm doing on social media, but I actually love that this is an opportunity to do so.
Lovely. Yeah. Now, have you had some water?
Yeah. It's always an energetic residue from each guest, and then
yes, and I could see your throat. I actually was doing work on your throat as she was coming through.
Yes. So yeah, well, let's see with Archangel Haniel, because again, I haven't channeled her before, so let's connect to her.
Welcome. What a beautiful smile.
Yes. Welcome to you. Welcome to all of you. I am Archangel Haniel, and I understand you've had questions about who I am.
Yes, we do.
And what my energy is, and how I express. Now, that's adjusting through Vicky's throat again. You were speaking earlier of the base chakra. And Vicky was saying earlier that she resonates more with the archangels as the angels of Atlantis, as Stuart Pearce has described them, or described us. And I am right here. Vicky has 3 out of her 6 Angels of Atlantis cards, mine this week, with the red connecting into the base. So, yes, I do bring and connect with the sacred warrior energies. And there's so much to share.
That's exciting for us.
And no, this will not be my only visit.
Yay.
When you understand that certain teachings about archangels are connected into by those who have written in times past,
yes,
whether through biblical writings or other scriptural writings about the archangels, and they are passed down, and then others reshare, and sometimes it can be like a Chinese whispers about
That's
us.
exactly what I had in my head. Yeah.
And so therefore it is a passed along description of us that is not necessarily a true reflection of us. Now, some of it is, you can also understand, is when someone is connected with us in the past, you may understand that their experience of us was necessary for those times. Is not necessarily connecting into the experience of us now as you are experiencing us now and needing us now. What Stuart Pearce has done has connected with us into the energies of Atlantis as we were overseeing that Atlantean energy and the Atlantean peoples in that grand design and laying the basis for the human experience here upon the earth. And because of Vicky's Atlantean heritage, she resonates very strongly with that energy. And so she experiences me, she saw me as red coming through as she was connecting into my energy.
Okay.
Very different from other descriptions of me as being connected to the moon and softly feminine. It's more a primal feminine power that I choose to express, even though it is not the totality of who I am.
And I was seeing yellow, like beautiful golden yellow was what I was feeling when you were coming through. Yeah.
So the experience may be different. And so for each of you who experience me, allow your experience of me to be as it is. Do not wrong it. Do not change it.
Yeah.
Allow it to be as it is. For I'm not here to say that this is this person's teaching that you must follow, or that person's, or what is even being shared here. Because remember, it is being shared and channeled through a human body.
Yes.
So understand that even though I am transmitting, I'm still transmitting through a human filter. A good one.
Yes.
A human filter nonetheless.
Yes.
And so when you can understand that when I or any aspect or the divine can connect with you, your experience is going to be individual to you, because that is what you are requiring at this time. So do not limit how you would see us because you are needing something else from us that is different from anyone else has experienced or shared that experience of. So you may call upon me as the sacred warrior angel, or you may call upon me as an archangel and calling the archangels in as a group. It need not matter. I'm here to support, assist, guide, oversee, and facilitate the unfolding of your journeys here upon this planet. And I'm part of that whole that is doing this.
Well, that's beautiful. Thank you. And a lot of my research kept coming back to joy as well. And that's, like, I feel one of my superpowers is joy as well. So I think there's joy in standing in your power and getting that.
Oh, yes, there is.
Yeah, getting all that base security, safety way of being. Stand in your power and know that you deserve that. It's your divine right.
You do not have your foundation right, then none of your energy is going to be right.
No.
So do not confuse base with basic. People often are very eager to develop things like the crown or third eye chakras.
Yeah.
Without looking to see where their base chakra is at, because they see that as too simple, too basic, lower than. And yet all is necessary to the whole. And yet not only is it necessary to the whole, when you understand it is the foundation of your energy, then nothing else is going to be right if that is not right. And you'll have your biggest awakenings when you move through base chakra issues, because when you are doing so, it is big. As you go up, you move into the more subtle areas, more subtle energies. Whereas the base chakra, it's palpable, it's material, it's physical.
Solid.
It is. And so it takes more energy to get this right.
And even the colour itself, like I know it's a colour I kind of avoided the colour red for a long time because I did feel its power. And it was almost like I stayed up into the upper chakras, the pinks, the blues, the purples, and that were the colours that I love the whole rainbow. But
of course,
originally it was more those higher chakra colours. Whereas now I find when I've gone out and bought myself some red jumpers and red jeans and to embrace that. And it was at the same time that I realised I was actually working on the foundations of my life at the same time, as well as I was bringing red into my wardrobe.
Vicky has always loved the colour red, but particular shades of it. And she's wearing her red coral earrings and ring, and she's got red on her dress as well. When you can understand that red can represent the physical, and when you look at the colour pink, it is the alchemy of the red and the white. In other words, the physical and the heavenly. And as you bring the alchemy of those two together into the heart, this is an integration of the human and divine. You cannot have the pink without the red.
Yeah, and I'm even seeing the base chakra as a bigger platform too, almost like for you to bounce off, like, or build.
Every other chakra connects into the base chakra. Every other chakra. If you think of it as a tree, no matter where the branches go, it originates from the very trunk of the tree. It must.
Yeah.
And if the trunk is not strong, it cannot support the others. So when you are going through the base chakra awakening, that's when your life can really turn upside down.
Yes. It sure can.
Yes. And that is where things can be most chaotic. But when the base chakra becomes clearer, open, more balanced, then you start to see more balance and flow in your life. And things start to move into a greater harmony and to move out of chaos.
And I often look back at it too as like I've spent a lot of time in the base chakra and changing my life through that way. And then I sometimes think, I'm moving too slow, but then I'm thinking, no, that's foundations. Want to get my foundations right. And it was the other day that it came to me. I went, well, you think about Yeshua or Jesus, whatever you call that being, spent nearly all his life, let's just talk about the life of Jesus, not his previous, all his life spending time with different masters and getting his foundations right for his ministry that only went for a year or two.
Exactly.
It's still reverberating through the cosmos now.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. And when you look at the building of a house, for example, the slowest work is in laying the foundation and preparing for that foundation to be laid. That is the slowest work, and it seems like nothing's occurring, yet so much is required. That's where the greatest energy is required, and to get that the most right.
I have a little dog here who's dying to get up and see.
Bring him
comes
up.
in every time we channel. He's straight in.
He connects to the energy.
Yes, for sure. It is. Okay. Now, where would you like to go next?
I will reiterate what some has already said, what the keepers and Athena have already said about what is occurring in Iran.
Yeah.
But they have already covered this topic, so I will not go back over it. And I also am happy to be their voice.
Beautiful.
And I acknowledge your statement that it is about base chakra, safety, security, and bodily autonomy. And this is where the beginning starts. You may bring him up.
I don't know if I can. You going to come up, buddy? Come here. Come on. Come on. Turn around. He's getting older. Let's him to pick him up. There we go.
There he is. Hello,
puppy.
puppy.
Say hello to everybody. Say hello, Maxie.
Hello,
Okay.
Maxie. And
Mad Max, another warrior.
yes. As I said previously, this takes the greatest energy. It is the most physical. But is the beginning, the necessary beginning for more to unfold. Now I wish to move the conversation along and speak to your personal sovereignty and to connect back into that theme, even though we have not left it, but I won't wish to re-emphasize it.
Yep.
When you connect into the base chakra energies, do not see this as a waste of your time. Do not rush it. Do not think it's taking too much time. It will take the most time. It will. But when you get that right, everything else will fall into place and everything will be faster thereafter, because it is moving into the most dense, as in the slowest energy, looking at matter purely in terms of wavelengths and the speed of those waves. So I'm going to speak to that. And since we have Maxie here, I'm going to speak to the role of animals on your planet.
Oh, beautiful.
Specifically, domestic pets. Vicky last week experienced the loss of her dog. And it wasn't until that occurred did she fully appreciate what an earth angel this beautiful dog was, and how they all are earth angels who have soul contracts with you, who take on your energy, who love you unconditionally, who support you through your trials and tribulations. They are here to share your burdens, so that even when you are going through these great upheavals in your lives, that can provide this love for you. There's a purpose in him coming and in sharing that. For it is speaking to who is part of your family in your home life. And they are an integral part of it. Yet the loss of them can be great. Is why you'll see even those who are homeless do all that they can to maintain the relationships with their dogs, with their cats, because they are so necessary and support each other. So similarly, when it comes to your base chakra upheavals, see what spirit has brought you to support you through that process, whether it be an animal, whether it be a person, whether it be your spirit team. And know that, dear ones, you are not alone and you are not forsaken. Because we may, from this perspective, gloss over it. Yet when you're in the midst of it, there's no glossing over what you are going through. Yet we wish to provide you with a broader perspective so you can know that there will be an end to your troubles. And so honor, love, and appreciate these earth angels and all earth angels who come to you, whether in human form or in animal form, as they support you through this process.
Beautiful boy.
Yes.
Yes, he's been a beautiful friend, haven't he? Still are. He's now 14 and a half years old, aren't you, mate?
He's doing well.
Yeah, still full of spunk, aren't you, mate? Well, thank you so much for coming along today. So much gratitude. I think I'll just try and let him down. Do it gently. You right, buddy? There you go. Oh, yeah.
I'm grateful for the experience, for this sharing, as Vicky has now attuned to my energy and can now more readily connect with me in subsequent conversations.
I look forward to that. Thank you so much for coming. So much gratitude and love.
You may call upon me, connect with me if you so choose. Have your own experience with me. Forget what you have read or what you have heard, and just be with the experience. And open yourself up to it. No, I'm here in the form that you need me. And so I open my heart to all of you, to the people of Iran, and all people suffering everywhere. And give you strength and courage. Power. And breathe into my sacred warrior energy. As you require it. And so it is. Well, I just have to share that at the end, the way I experienced her was almost like fiery breath coming out. And actually really felt like depictions of Sekhmet and that fire coming out. But yes, that dragon energy also. Yeah, that was pretty strong in how I experienced that.
You're going to need some rest time after this.
Yes.
That was two powerful beings on top of the keepers and the Council of Light. So,
yes. Okay. So I'm going to take one more sip of water and then I'll call in the keepers. How are you all doing, dear ones?
Been another wonderful gathering.
It can be a powerful discussion when you're talking about sovereignty. And when you have two divine warrior energies coming through in one session, that really speaks to the power of what is being discussed. But the perfect and divine timing of this discussion, given what is unfolding in Iran and globally, because before Iran, there was discussions about the monarchy and people wishing to uprise in a different way against the colonial system.
Yes.
So you have people questioning this is related to base chakra ideas, and yet it connects to all ideas. If you do not have this safety and security, then you do not have this sovereignty. And then we may connect there into the solar plexus. And then if you're not in the consciousness of love and you're being infringed upon with unloving energies, then that relates to the heart chakra. And when you do not have a voice, that connects to the throat. And you can see how it affects the whole body experience. So this has been an important discussion. And we hope we leave you all with a greater understanding of sovereignty from how we see it, from our perspective, and how this fits in with the consciousness of love, so that you may understand that you are not separate from those protesting. You're not separate from those whose human rights are being impacted. And yet, even as you move through personally through your own personal battles against the old energies, how you bring the energy forward as you move forward into the new earth energies. So know that this is all important in claiming the consciousness of love and embodying the consciousness of love, so that you anchor the new earth energies into your experience. The new earth energies are here. You must access them though, however, through your personal energies. And if you're not in alignment, you will not be there. So do what you will, do what you must to claim this for yourselves and to claim it for your brothers and sisters around the world.
I just want to express my gratitude too, for our soul sisters channeling. We're really all, it's steering towards a reflection of world events and how it affects us personally, so that we are doing that integration of human and divine.
Yes.
And I love that that's what this work that we're all doing together, co-creating together, is more in that vein of that highlighting of our day-to-day living and how we can continue to evolve and go through all the changes that are in the energy that we're in at the moment. And will continue in.
It is being real.
Yes.
And being real in your humanness. For some who claim high vibes only often will disown their humanness in doing so. When you understand that all of this serves a purpose to move into the consciousness of love, which is why we are here, to support you to claim this energy. Sometimes this work is not pretty.
No.
Sometimes it's not easy. And at times you may feel like you are battling for your life, whether literally or metaphorically. So while this may seem heavy, rejoice in these opportunities. Bless the souls involved. Do not judge another's path, whether Queen Elizabeth's or another's. She's not judged by us. And yet she reviews her own path, even as the divine around her support her to do this. This goes for any other human soul which transitions to the other side. Know that there are many injustices in the world that cannot continue in the new earth and in the consciousness of love. And this is why you're all here.
To be the change.
Exactly. Whether you've interfaced with it personally or collectively, you have interfaced with it. And so we are pleased to be able to share these conversations and be real about it. For there cannot be or should not be a disconnection from what is unfolding. For that is an artificial separation from the whole, from the collective that you're in. Remember, you're here, part of the collective. And as you change and shift, you help the collective to change and shift. Do what you can. Is all you can do.
Like the saying I always use, you've got to fill your own cup. Start there.
Yes. So we too send our love across the world, through Iran, to all people suffering. We send our love to each of you, no matter what personal battles you are going through. And if you have already been through them and you are anchoring and embodying the consciousness of love within you, then celebrate. Celebrate how far you have come. Celebrate that there's still far to go. For it means that your evolution will continue forevermore. It has always been thus. It is part of the grand design. That as you, each of you, have journeyed into the depths of physicality, that you rise back up to reclaim your light and be the light in human bodies, and to know yourselves as love. That is why you are here. From our hearts to yours, we bless you and we send you much love.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
And so it is.
Wow, I'm going to have to listen back to that last bit especially, but wow, so much beautiful information to look through and see where we can reflect any of it in our own lives.
Yes, yeah.
And while we were talking, while the keepers were talking then, like Queen Elizabeth is going through her life review.
Yeah.
Like I think, well, we all have those lifetimes that we're living in now, and can we, some of us, like for me, I'm looking at reviewing now where I'm at.
Exactly.
And what can I do to move myself forward?
Exactly.
In the consciousness of love.
I mean, as we speak, we're going through Mercury retrograde, and that is exactly about review. And so we have multiple opportunities, you know, throughout our lives to review where we are, where we're going, what we are doing. So I think that's a good reminder that we don't have to wait for our lives to end to review what we're doing, where we're going, what we're, you know. So I think that's really important, and kind of lost for words, but I'm grateful that I got to share a little bit about animals. It was kind of really opportunistic.
He's at every recording, like every session, and like he tries to wiggle his way in.
Yes.
To be around the energy.
Yeah. Yeah, so there was so much that came up, and I you know, certainly hadn't planned, of course, you know, what was going to come through, and I kind of feel it was so timely that they came through. Yeah.
Well, I'm loving the evolution. Like when we first started out doing these monthly like chats and meeting all these guides coming through, it was sort of more to learn about what was across the veil that we could pull through. And I can just see, like, especially when I asked you, I said, look, I really want to bring up about the sovereignty of the human body when the abortion things were happening over in America. And that's why I wanted to clear it with you, because I'm like, this is a pretty hot subject.
Yes.
That needs to be handled with ease and grace. And you're like, no, go for it, whatever you want to.
Yes.
I'm on board no matter what you want to bring up. So I was like, great. So that just has really channeled us into a reflection of world events and what's going on in our backyard and across the world. And I'm loving that we're now connecting all that earlier work and that guidance that we've got about spirituality and looking within ourselves, and now we're connecting it up with real life subjects.
Well, for me, it's about as within, so without. As within, so without. So, you know, what's going to go in within you personally is going to be reflected outwardly in what's unfolding. So you can then apply that, you know, what's happening on a macro level, you know, what may be occurring on a micro level. So even when you talk about world events, it's like, well, how does that also relate to a personal journey? It's all kind of reflected. So I think it's really important that we understand that this is not separate from the spiritual journey. Like, you know, like it's all part of it. And when we really get to understand that our spiritual journey is the human experience, that's why we're here.
Come here.
That's why we're here. It's why we're having a human experience. And when you understand where we've come from as a human collective, from the energy of imperialism, and that's been, you know, kind of been discussed over 2-3 episodes, I think, but it's come up, and how we're needing to release that energy, and that's still within the collective consciousness, And look how it's unfolding now in Iran. That's part of that coming up so that we can release that.
Yeah.
And certainly, you know, when we have such two powerful divine feminine presences coming through, you know, and then you're looking at the power of women being at the center of these protests, this uprising, then you can see that, you know, that divine feminine energy is not passive. It is not soft necessarily. Yes, you can get that softer feminine energy, but it can, like the that lioness energy, like, you know, it can be really strong. And if you look at how Sekhmet is portrayed, it's with the lioness face. It is, and that's how I felt that come through, but with the fire coming out. So I think, you know, whether we're women or men or, you know, whatever gender we identify or don't identify with, like, you know, we can connect with that energy and therefore express that energy and use it to allow, or even allow it to support us in what we're going through and what we're moving through.
Yeah. And I just want to say a big thank you to audience people, like the ones that are sending in questions, like, because they're actually helping co-create these gatherings as well, so they play a big part. And it's just interesting that everything seems to fall into place as usual, like divinely guided. And we always come out with a really, like, a great conversation.
It really is. So for those of you listening, if you wish to submit a question, where it can be personal or something that's happening with a collective or just the broader healing or spiritual journey, submit your question to either one of us and we'll bring it up in the next episode. So I'm really grateful for sharing. Thank you for holding space, Kerry, and for being here.
Like you do.
And I look forward to...
You good vessel.
I forgot about that.
Wait till you listen back and absorb all the things that were said,
Gosh, some of the things I say I would never say about myself. It's really interesting. But look, I'm grateful for the sharing and for those who've been listening and for those who submitted those questions. It really helps it to become a co-creation in this way. So from my heart to yours, Kerry, and to everyone watching, I send you all much love. Thank you for being part of this co-creation, because you have called forth these answers, these channelings, these messages, and I'm looking forward already to the next one.
And ditto everything that you've just shared. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, bye.
Much love.